I'm Bill with TANDEMKROSS, making good guns great. Before I get started, let me ask you to please like and share this video on whatever social media platform you found it on. Follow us if you're not following us already. And if you're on YouTube, to please click subscribe and the notification bell so that whenever we upload a new video, you find out right away. Now on to the good stuff. Whenever people talk about wearable parts in firearms, the parts that get worn out and that you can expect to replace over the life of the gun, they're usually thinking of things like firing pins or extractors, but the springs that make those parts work, the pins that hold them in the gun, are also wearable. Anything that gets moved or removed or has stress applied to it on a regular basis is wearable. An example that people don't often think of would be the recoil spring retainer in a Ruger PC Carbine. Every time you fire your PC Carbine, pressure gets applied to that recoil spring, and every time pressure gets applied to the spring, pressure gets applied to the spring's retainer too. Eventually that retainer will wear out, and it will stop retaining the spring correctly. You'll have to replace it. The retainer is also really small, and that makes it easy to lose, especially when it's spring-loaded. Luckily for you, TANDEMKROSS now offers a replacement recoil spring retainer for the Ruger PC Carbine. Our retainer is machined from 400 series stainless steel billet for high strength and excellent corrosion resistance. We also designed it with an increased length to provide additional stability under severe conditions. But despite this change, it will still easily install in place of the stock component with no other modifications required to the firearm. Replacing your recoil spring retainer can be done quickly and easily with just common tools. So let me show you how it goes.
To do this install, you will need a 5/32 Allen wrench, a small punch, and if you're using an upriser chassis like I am, you will need a 3/16 Allen wrench. And we also recommend eye protection. To start, as always, make sure your firearm is clear and safe. Then you can lock the bolt back and pull this lever forward to remove the barrel. Then you can release the bolt. Next, we'll have to remove the receiver from the chassis. For me, that involves taking the hive grip off the upriser. Then, I'll use the 5/32 Allen wrench to loosen these two screws at the rear and front of the chassis. On a stock chassis, they are captured. You don't need to remove them all the way. Loosen those screws up, and then you can take the receiver out of the chassis. Use your punch to pop out these two pins that will allow you to remove the trigger assembly. Then you'll want to remove any charging handles that you might have on your firearm. And now you can pull on this buffer here and slide the whole bolt, buffer, and recoil spring out of the receiver. Like so. So now grab the buffer and pull that whole recoil spring assembly out of the bolt. Turn that assembly upright and pull down on the buffer to compress the spring and allow you to remove the retaining clip. Hold that buffer down and grab your new retainer. You can see that there's this cutout on one side of the retainer. And on the recoil spring rod, there's this notch at the end. Your new retainer is going to go around that notched portion and the round end of the spring rod is going to sit in the cutout as you let the pressure off the spring. Now you can slide the assembly back into the bolt. Now you can start rebuilding your PC Carbine. First, put the bolt back in. You'll have to compress the spring slightly one more time to get it to fit. Now turn it on its side and you can reattach any charging handles you had on it. Grab your trigger group housing, set that back in the rear of the receiver and replace the 2 cross pins. Then grab your chassis and set the receiver back in. Screw your 2 screws back in. Make sure you alternate so that they tighten up evenly. Then I have to put the grip back on my upriser. And then you can replace your barrel. Make sure the bolt seems like it's working correctly, and then you are done. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions about this video, be sure to let me know in the comments. And don't forget to click like and subscribe and that little notification button so that you are the first to know whenever we upload new videos. You can also find us elsewhere on the internet like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, you can find our products at www.tandemkross.com. See ya!